Hi, everybody. Okay, so the reason I don't really have a title for today's episode is because nothing has been figured out really yet. But the Nikki's diagnosis, I guess, or results are going to come in probably tomorrow. I mean, I really don't think they're going to have whether she's blind or not as a Friday cliffhanger. Um, so yeah. Plus, it wouldn't go along with the story. I mean, the dialogue that they've already said that it takes 48 hours. So all that combined, I don't think they're gonna wait that long. Okay. So that's still a question mark. And then there was two other side stories. I view them as side stories. So okay, I'm gonna start with the one that's a little bit more. Well, they're both interesting, but you know, a little more heart tugging than the other one. Okay, so and I kind of mentioned this before, but I kind of thought about it because when Nikki first got the diagnosis of the mass on her optic nerve, she thought Nate could do the surgery, remember? And then he had to remind her that he couldn't do surgery anymore. And so they had Stephanie Simmons there today, Vivica Fox, woo, talked about, well, if you want to do surgery again, then there are procedures that can make your hand as good as it was. Um, so I was like, oh, that might be exciting because, well, it's exciting on two levels for me anyway. Um, they actually, if he did pursue something like that, it would bring it into modern times, and then also you would have a African American character, black character, actually have a predominant career, and that would be huge. So yeah. Okay. And then the other side story, which is not a side story, but I really don't know how to label it because for me, the whole storyline with Melody Thomas Scott is huge. So anything else is kind of a side story ish. But no shade. Roger Howarth gets my hashtag today because oh boy. Um Now, honorable mention, close, very close second would be to Billy Flynn as Kane. Because as I've talked about before, especially when you have two people, um, so it's supposed to be a dialogue situation. Okay, so if one person brings it and the other one is lukewarm, it's not gonna read well. But they both were there and they both gave A+ performances because um, Kane is smart, which I like, and so he's kind of on to Matt as why do you want to know so much about me? All of a sudden, I don't know you. We barely know each other. Why do you want to know? Is it something about Victor? And then for his part, Roger Howard has to artfully dodge the questions, but not to the fact where he's lying to Kane because it'll tip him off even more. So he's got to have the quality where he's not lying to him, but he's got to be creative enough to where he might buy the story because ultimately he is lying to it. You have to keep that in mind because that's part of the thing. Kane has to kind of buy what Matt is selling, or Victor is gonna, well, first be pissed and not pay Matt for doing the job, because part of it is to not be exposed, right? Okay. So, meanwhile, this is also why Roger Howarth gets my hashtag today, because in my mind they gave him the best bit of dialogue, because um, Lily and Kane, Crystal Khalil, and Billy Flynn were having dinner, and um, how do I put this nicely? Um, you could tell that Kane was trying to make a move on Lily, but kind of Matt superseded that, because he was, well, can I have a drink with you guys? And then he thought they were married, and they said, no, we're not married. And he said, oh, what a shame. And I was like, whoa, even he can see that maybe they should be a romantic couple again. Okay, that's cool. So yeah. Okay. Then there's a lot of back and forth about, well, come on, you can really tell me what's going on. Is Victor connected? Do you really know the Newmans? And I'm like, no, he doesn't know the Newmans. I mean, he did as a bad guy, but he doesn't really know them. So I'm like, how interesting is this going to get? And I was like, waiting. And I was like, whoa, this is going to be bad. Because, yeah, I don't know. So I'd say that Kane is on to him, but I don't know. But then I love how another line, I'm going to just quote Roger Howard's lines today. He says, so I'm kind of in a weird spot here. You know, rock bottom? Well, there's a basement below that, and that's where I am. And I'm clawing my way out. And I was like, whoa, yeah, okay. And then he also said, hey, look, why would I lie to you about wanting to be friends or something like that? Because aren't you kind of tired of people who they always want something? You know, they put it under the guise of something else, but they just want something from you. And I was like, yes. So I bought his story. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. What to look forward to? Let's see. Well, obviously, I'm really invested in what happens with Nikki's character, because, as I discussed in another video, they could totally go two ways. But then depends on how they go and how the characters react, and how everything unfolds. Because if Nikki is blind, then she could be whatever, like she could be under Victor's thumb, because Victor could hold it against her or hold it as a bargaining chip if he helps her out. But if she's okay and she can stand on her own 2 feet, then that may change the whole dynamic of the whole relationship for the past 40 years. So I'm telling you guys, watch this. This is going to be, you're going to see a completely different dynamic than you've seen with the Newmans as of late. Okay? So this is huge. And that's about all, yeah, for today, because they're just waiting for Nikki to not wake up, but be able to have the time to figure out what happened with her. That's it. Okay, bye, everybody.